This is Stephen Barchetti, your host, with my Industry Leader Series. This evening I have a beautiful guest with me, the author of 80 Proven Ways to Become a Millionaire, Mr. Paul Damazo, and he's going to share with us some of the reasons he put the book together and some of the stories within the book. And I'm just proud to have him on the call with us, sharing some of this insight. Paul, good to have you.
Thank you, Stephen. It's my pleasure to be on the radio with you and the Internet. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you and your listeners.
Excellent. Paul, you are on the West Coast in Santa Monica, correct?
Riverside, California.
Riverside. Beautiful. The nice part about the Internet capabilities, we have listeners from all over the world, and they could listen right through their websites. So it's amazing what's available now to get the message out. And, it's kind of neat just using the technology. So
the nice part about the nice part about it, Stephen, the people all over the world, many of the principles we're going to be talking about applies to them regardless of what country they're in.
Exactly. Just reading some of your bio is amazing in itself. The fact that you donated $11 million to charity by age 45. And first, let me start with what instance or series of instances led to you writing the book and, taking on that challenge now. What was the inspiration behind the book?
All my life, Stephen, I have been very interested in helping people at all ages, especially young people. I helped 38,000 high school and college students that had high academic scores but no finances, and the parents had zero to help them. So we created work opportunities in 18 campus work centers all along the West Coast. And so I've always enjoyed helping people. Number two, in America, 70% of all of the households struggle from one paycheck to the next. In many other countries, it's even worse than that. And a lot of this is unnecessary, and I wanted to be able to help those people have a better financial life and, in turn, enjoy a fuller total life. So those were I have many reasons for the book, but those are the two driving forces that led me to write the book. And, of course, I've been in business and finance all my life, and I've always been interested in investments from 16 years of age on up. And so it seemed natural. I had several professionals that said, Paul, you have to write a book. You have to write a book. And this is how it happened. Super.
Now, I know we're, condensing a life's worth of work into that story. Along that journey, coming to this point to write the book, tell me some of your, biggest stories and learning, along the way, some of the juicy ones that the listeners will just be amazed with.
Number one, I have been amazed at how anyone can become wealthy. And it's just a matter of choice and time. If they will decide now, they have two choices: to stay poor where they are, groveling from one paycheck to the next, or if they want a better life, then they have to make that decision. So many people think that becoming wealthy is a chance. Stephen, I'm here to tell you and your listeners around the world that becoming wealthy is not a matter of chance. It's a matter of choice, your choice. And it's easy from there on. I think of Monsignor McSweeney, Catholic priest that had a stipend of $25 a month, Stephen, would you believe? And he used some of that, and the rest of it, every evening he had to sit at his desk with a 25-watt bulb and looking over the financial section of the newspaper and the stock section, and started investing, saved up to $25 and then $50 and $100 and kept on. And would you believe, before he retired, he had $1 million. And he never made a penny more than $25 a month. And, you know, I think of Mr. Goodwin, who worked as a janitor all of his life. And when he died, you know, everybody thought he was poor, but he was very saving and investing. And at age 90, when he died, would you believe he left $2 million to the local college and YMCA in his home state of Washington. And, you know, I think of Annie Schreiberg, never made over $5,000 in her life. And when she retired, she invested $5,000 in the stock market that she had saved. And would you believe she averaged 17.5% for the next 51 years until she passed away. And when she passed away, that $5,000 had grown to $22 million, which she donated to her alma mater, Columbia University. And in addition, the previous 10 years prior to her death, she took out $1 million a year. So that had grown to $32 million. Totally uneducated, didn't know anything about stocks. All she knew were names of companies that she recognized and had in her cupboard and kitchen table, you know, at her mealtime, Kellogg's and other companies like that. And just kept buying a little stock when she had a little extra money, and she ended up with $32 million. My biggest mistake in my financial life was giving that $11 million away. And I have, this has been extremely difficult for me, because if I had applied the principle of compounding interest, which is applicable worldwide, I could have given today, instead of $11 million to one charity, I could give $11 million to 273 different charities around the world. And perhaps, without a shadow of a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, that was my biggest financial mistake of my life.
Well, when you say mistake, you mean you could have just give so much more, you know, not
to
give
273 $11 million checks instead of one.
Yeah. So you're definitely a believer in giving, and you're just sad that you couldn't have, you know, made it 273 times.
That's right. And since then, I've been compounding, and I teach compounding all the time because it's so basic. With, you know, my philosophy, two simple philosophies. Number one, you should earn 15%. This is my 50th consecutive year of earning 15% average per year minimum on all my investments. At 15%, at compounding interest, your estate or your investments, all of them, double every 5 years. So I divide anybody's life into 5-year increments. And if you have, you know, $1,000 now, 5 years from now it'll be $2, and then 5 years it'll be 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. First thing you know, if you start early enough, you have multiple millions of dollars from minimum amount of money.
Exactly. So basically, you're saying the first folks that you were referencing, they were not earning big money. You know,
no, one was a janitor, one was a priest with $25 a month.
Mm-hmm. So
I have many other examples like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it boils down to two simple things: consistency and time. The earlier in life, the better. This is why I tell parents, look, if you're going to have a child, instead of having a typical baby shower, why don't you have a baby growth estate shower? Who attends a baby shower in the first place? Your relatives and your closest friends. And they're not going to be angry at you when they get this note in the mail. I'm so happy to tell you we're having a baby shower for our newborn daughter, and we're calling it the Baby Growth Estate Shower. Rather than bring in a regular gift, would you be so kind as to bring a $25 check with you so we can start her estate? And 25 people, $25. You have, I hit it just now, you have $625. But if you have just $500 and you invest that when the baby is born, at the age of 45, that child is going to have $269,000. Now, for the rest of that child's life, this is going to become a stream of income. And it's going to amount to $40,000 per year for the rest of that child's life until, even if she lives to be 105, she will be getting $40,000 a year from that $500 shower at birth. One simple little thing. And the 4 grandparents and the parents, they can all chip in, and it's just, $100 each, and it's all done. $100 from each grandparent, and that's $400, and $100 from the parents. That's $500, and you're on your way. Or the guests can bring in $25 apiece, either one.
Exactly. What I was picking up since I had a chance to review the book was, it's not about making big money. It's not about doing huge things. It's about little things over time. And just like these examples you're giving the listeners, be creative. The baby shower, instead of the cake and candy and the gifts that are gone tomorrow, you make these funds. And,
exactly.
You spend the same money, but you've created something completely different. So that's what I like about the whole concept is people could do all these things. You're not coming up with, crazy potions and ideas to make things happen. Everybody could implement this stuff.
Oh, yeah. And if you take 2 or 3 without affecting your lifestyle, you're going to become a millionaire. If you take 5 or 10, you're going to become a multimillionaire. It's that simple. Out of the 80, I'm following 47 of the 80 examples I have in that one chapter.
Wow.
And I had one of my seminars, I had a couple attend, and I met I was at Home Depot, my sprinkler broke, and I had to rush down and get some pots, and I was in my grubbies, and this tall, handsome gentleman all dressed up in a black suit, white shirt and tie, and came up to me, and he put his hand out and said, "Mr. Damazo, let me shake your hand." And my computer mind is going like crazy. Where did I see this fellow? I've never met him in my life. I've never seen him. I don't know him. He said, "I was at your seminar Saturday night, and you had almost 2,000 people there, and my wife and I wanted to talk to you, but there was several hundred people that rushed up there before we did, and we said we would be here for 3 hours before we talked to him, I was there till 12:30 in the morning answering questions." Anyway, he said, he started beaming, and he said, Mr. Damazo, we went home, and that very Sunday morning, we were having breakfast. We were looking at the options, and my wife and I picked out 5 right then and there. The first meal, we were chatting and going over the list, and these 5 won't affect our lifestyle, and they implemented them that Sunday morning. And then
so you're saying that they just chose 5 of your 80 strategies.
Right, and they implemented them that day.
Yep.
And then he told me this, with his big, beaming face, big, tall guy, 6'3" or 4", and he said this. He said, "You won't believe this, but as of now, just 3 weeks from your seminar, 2.5, 3 weeks, whatever it was, we're already at 10 And I put on a real sourpuss face, and I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And he looked at me, and then I started laughing, and I grabbed his hand, and I said, "Sir, let me congratulate you. You're not going to be a millionaire. You're going to be a multimillionaire. With 10 of these, you're going to become a multimillionaire. It's automatic. Just keep on doing it." And you know what else people are doing? They take these ideas from my book, about the 80 Proven Ways, or many other things, and they put a calendar on the refrigerator, and the same day each week, and they have it all lined up till December 31 already, and they implement one item from my book every Sunday morning or every Saturday morning or Thursday, whatever day they select. And every Thursday from there to the end of the year, they have one item that they've already decided they're going to start implementing.
Excellent. Like a plan. I mean, you can't get without a plan.
Awesome.
Well, one of the hot topics is with today's environment, the financial turmoil. What would you recommend folks do when we're in this kind of market with their strategy? Anything different than they're doing, normally?
Yes, absolutely. Unfortunately, I have never seen so many financial crises come together in America in my life. But thank God we're making progress already. In fact, I have a sheet here of a list that I wrote out a couple hours ago for you and your listeners to be encouraged. First of all, let's talk for a moment about, we all know the three basic things that brought us to our knees in America. Number one was the subprime loans that were caused by greed and deceit and dishonesty and crookedness, which in turn caused banks to fail. Some of them because they weren't, and the third reason, they weren't being regulated. The regulations have become less and less and less over the last 12 years. Last two presidents started the deregulation of many of these things, and now we're paying the price. So those are the three basic reasons, but it boils down to two words: greed and dishonesty. Okay? Now, what are we supposed to do as individuals around the world? Because 110 countries today have been affected by this financial crisis of their own, and some of it catalyst because of the U.S. dilemma, and other countries bought some of these financial instruments that were worthless or next to worthless, and we helped create the calamity around some of the countries around the world. Plus, they had their own problems, which altogether compounded to become even more catastrophic. Number one, my counsel to all of your listeners: stay calm. Okay? I don't even look at my stock. I haven't looked at it for 3 months. It doesn't matter. My dividends come in every month, and my brokerage company gives me 3 checkbooks at a time. And every month, as soon as my brokerage statement comes, I open that up, and whatever dividends and cash I have there, I write myself a check. And in 3 minutes, it's all done. And when I go to the bank, I deposit it or cash it. So stay calm. Don't panic. Don't bail out. I beg of you, don't bail out because you're going to lose a great deal of money. You see, I don't worry, Stephen, so much when the stock market is going down. I worry when the stock market is going up and I'm not in the stock market, okay? Only God knows when it's going to turn around and start improving substantially. Now, I can tell you this bit of tremendous news to encourage everybody, and then we'll go on with the list of things to do. I've lived through many of these, and the national average is every time we've had a major stock downturn in 1 year following the bottom, the stock market has recovered 36.6% in 1 year from the bottom of the stock fall. So this is why I plead with you, if you haven't bailed out, don't be tempted to bail out and lose all kinds of money, because stay calm, cool, and collected, and you will be rewarded, and rewarded very substantially by staying in. Now, other things to do is make sure your checks that your bank account, make sure all of your investments in banks are federally insured, and make sure your brokerage accounts are federally insured. And I plead with everybody that can to get a home equity line of credit, so that if they become unemployed for a short period of time or a year, they will have a source of income to keep on going. And if at all possible, refinance your mortgage. There's still gigantic opportunities to lower your monthly payment and your interest rate. So I strongly recommend refinancing your mortgage. If you want to worry about something, worry about your taxes and do something about it.
As in lowering them.
I'm sorry?
As in lowering them? Some strategy?
Lowering your income tax. You can become, the average person in America can become a millionaire just by eliminating or lowering their income tax. And there's no easier way that I know of to become a millionaire than eliminating or lowering your income tax and investing it for yourself. And the nice thing about it, that gives you another tremendous source of an income stream. For example, if you're paying just $2,400 a year federal and state taxes, in 30 years, that would be $1.25 million. And that will give you, Stephen, a $169,000 income stream for the rest of your life. As I said, if you live to be 100, 105, you'll have $169,000 just from that one single item. And there are, in my book on page 97, you'll find 11 different income streams to cover you all of your life until you die. And the nice thing about it, those multiple millions of dollars will be in your estate when you die for your heirs and your favorite charities or whatever you want to do with it.
Exactly. Now, I could just to make sure my listeners understood that list, just verify with you. Number one, when you're saying to stay calm, you're referencing the fact that when people panic and just pull their money out because of emotions, it makes it all the worse. And that's what we've been seeing this last few weeks.
Oh, yes, including today, 514 points down on the Dow. And you can get panicked out if you start worrying about it. And, I'm sorry it went down for my sake and everybody else's sake, but there's nothing that I can do about it and other than waiting it out. So there's no sense. You see, there are some things you can change in life, and there are many things that you can't. And the things you can are the things you need to do, like becoming wealthy. You can become wealthy. Change that, and you're going to have an awesome life for the rest of your life. Money, don't misunderstand me, money doesn't solve all of your problems, but it certainly calms your nerves.
Exactly. Well, step number 2, you're saying you've seen, 2 or 3 of these big downturns, and that next 12 months after the bottom, it raises 36% as like a bounce from all of the panic. So,
Absolutely. And as soon as the downturn turns around and hits bottom, it starts picking up. And it's not only been 2 or 3. It's every one since World War II, Stephen, in America. Every downturn since World War II to the one just previous to this in 2001 and 2002. That was the last one, and now this one. They've all averaged 36.6% increase in the first 12 months alone. So this is why I say, why lose 40, 50% of your money right now? If you leave it in, you're going to get, if this is typical of the previous, which it isn't, it's going to be a little worse, but it's still going to bounce back. So say it's going to be a year and a half instead of a year that you're going to have 36.6% of your lost money back right where you are. You see, you haven't lost a penny in stocks until you sell it.
Exactly. You still
until
have the same amount of shares.
Right. Until then, you have the same number of shares, and you're getting dividends, hopefully, and on and on. So I had a lady come up to me at one of my recent seminars, and she was almost in tears, and she made the statement, and everybody heard her. She was so angry. She said, "I just lost $75,000. And I said, "How is that, madam?" And she said, "I lost it in the stock market." I said, "You mean you sold stocks today and you lost $75,000?" She said, "No, the stock market went down, and I have a large holding in my stocks, and I lost $75,000. I said, "Madam, you haven't lost a half a penny. Thank God for that. And leave the stock alone. Don't worry about it. Have a good night's sleep. And that stock that you lost $75,000 today will all come back and keep going and going and going. So relax and forget it."
Exactly. Until you sell, you haven't lost it yet. You still have
right.
the same amount of shares.
Absolutely right, Stephen. You haven't lost a penny until you sold. That's why I tell people, don't sell at this point. You've lost too much money. It's over around 43, 44% for the Dow. And why sell now?
Yeah. And then step 3 is make sure your accounts that you do have some money at, they're FDIC insured. The limit was $100,000. The
right.
government is pledging $250,000 for another 12 months, but you just have to check with your institutions and make sure that's the case.
Correct.
So that's number 3. Number 4, you're mentioning a home equity loan, and you're mentioning that for more of an emergency fund. You have to have emergency funds in your plan.
You know what? You just hit on another income stream for life. So many people, and unfortunately so many financial advisors, advise people to have 6 months of living expenses invested in money market accounts. And say you had that $25,000, $50,000 today in money market accounts or CDs. At the end of the year, you would have lost thousands and thousands of dollars because of the inflation. It's over 4%, and depending on what income tax bracket you're in, you're paying income tax. And if you have a state income tax, that's another tax. You're paying the taxes on the proceeds, the payment of the CD, the earnings from the CD or the money market account. So I have a little different thing that I do, and I have quite a bit on my home equity line of credit. And thank God now I'm just paying 3.75%. It just came down another 0.5% when the Federal Reserve 3 weeks ago lowered the rate another 0.5%. And what I do, I keep this as 2 things. Number 1, I always keep a little there for emergency if I need it. But the rest of it, I invest it. There are all kinds, and I know you want to get into this later on, and I don't want to get into it now until you're ready. But there are many ways when we talk about 15% that you can get 10 to 23% dividends paid every month, year in and year out. So what I do, Stephen, I take that 3.5% equity line of credit, what I don't need, and I keep investing it. So if I make 20% and I'm paying 3 3/4 now, so that's 16.25% profit I'm making on the bank. You see, you have to learn and know what the banks do around the world with your money. If you have a passbook account chances are you're not even getting 0.5%. And then they turn around and give you a credit card and charge you 18% for the money and they take part of the money or all of the money you have in your passbook saving account, and they loan it to you at 18% or 12% or 14%. And if you're late one or two times, then it's up to 30%. Like tens of millions of people in America now paying 30% interest on their credit cards. And I just read this morning in the LA Times business section about the gigantic growth of credit cards in China. And, boy, they don't have any bankruptcy laws over there. Boy, if you don't pay in 1 month, they come and get you. If you don't pay the second month, you go to jail. And, people respect their credit, and they don't take it out unless they can pay it because they know the consequences. There's no such thing as Chapter 7 or Chapter 713 bankruptcy over there when it comes to credit cards, and they expect in the next 3 years to have 1 billion credit cards in service in the next 3 years.
China is a growing monster. They're talking about, the 21st century would be the century of Asia.
Right, I agree.
Because of the
30 consecutive years of 10% gross domestic product increase. No country in the history of the world has equaled that. 30 consecutive years.
People don't realize there are 1 billion more people in China than the United States.
That's
so
right.
With those kind of numbers, that's one of the reasons they're doing such huge things is just because of population.
Absolutely.
And they're industrious. They're really industrious people.
Yes, they are, and hardworking, and I'm just amazed at what has happened. I've watched this thing go from ground zero to now, and the whole country has changed in so many ways. It's just staggering and amazing, and happily there are so many millions, hundreds of millions of people that were in poverty that now are in the middle class.
Yeah, they're having a movement,
yep.
Movement of social class, which is great. I mean, I hope they inspire everybody. And the last two items was the refinance, obviously, to cut that home payment down, and lower your taxes and invest the money. That seems to be the theme throughout is, take a little bit here, take a little bit there, and invest it for yourself. And
absolutely, that is the whole key. Invest for yourself. You see, this is why I loathe credit cards. People don't understand. Those that habitually never pay off their full amount each month, they are using credit cards to their own detriment. Every time you use a credit card and you don't pay off the credit card in full so that at the end of the month, you actually degrade your standard of living by the amount of the interest you paid. And the average family in America today pays $11,000 in interest per year. Now, can you imagine how many millionaires are being made from all of the people, the tens and tens of millions that don't that are paying that premium rate 30% because they don't pay on time when they should, and they're being penalized. And not only that, you just heard about and read that major study that just was completed, 85,000 people, and the study was very simple. It was based on how much money you spend when you go shopping if you use only cash versus only credit cards. And, Stephen, you know this. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's shocking. The person that goes shopping and uses only cash spends 15% less than the person with the credit cards. So now you have 45%, 30% interest you're paying on the credit card, and now you're paying 15% more because you're using the credit card instead of cash because you're buying that many more things that you don't need in most cases. So that's 100. That's 45%. And now, because they're paying the $11,000 interest a year per family, they don't have the money to invest in the 401k. And all the studies I've done, and hired 2 CPAs, and the Money Magazine, the Bible of the money industry in America, and another great financial magazine, both of them had major feature articles on the return on a 401k, the benefits and the returns. And all 5 of them, my original work that I have when Congress passed that, I did a comprehensive cost analysis and returns on the value of 401k, and it came out to be 100%. And all 5 of us, there was one 98%, and the other 4 were 100%. So because the card payers are not paying off regularly, and because they're using cards instead of cash to shop, they're losing 15% there, 30% for the credit card interest, and now they're losing another 100% because they don't have the money in their hand to put into their 401k, which returns 100% per year, year after year after year after year. So now you're up to 145% per year for every person that uses a credit card and doesn't pay it off in full every month.
Yeah, seems the credit cards are one of the biggest factors holding people back. You can't go forward with investing for yourself when you're not properly, you use a credit card and you don't think about things. You think you have the money, you don't even have the money. You're borrowing the money. So
that's right.
It's really putting folks back.
Yeah, 100% correct. What is the most important date of anyone's life, would you say, Stephen?
Their birthday.
Okay. What about 90 days before they get engaged? That's the date that I peg as the most important date in a person's life. Because depending on marrying that person or not marrying them, immediately affects your success by 80% or your failure by 80%. And the 90 days before engagement, the couples need to sit down quietly, all by themselves, and discuss for 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, and take notes and set up goals. And so they learn each other's credit, where they're coming from, how much they owe, who they owe to, and why, when they're going to have it paid off, and what the living standards, what are they savers or spenders, are they investors, and on and on. That's the most important day of your life, because if you marry that person, and that person, if there isn't financial intimacy between the 2 people that get married, then you're in for hard life ahead of you versus sitting down, discussing all these things. And listen, if you're not together on these things, you kiss her goodbye and she walks one way and you walk the other, and that's the end. Because, and I have a 4-point plan in the book you saw there. It takes the 178 questionnaire, and each one fill that out and then exchange it and review that in 2 or 3 hours to set the basis, and then from there go on. And we can eliminate 80% of the divorce rate instead of 50% in 3.5 years. Now, when I started my seminars, Stephen, the divorce rate was still 50%, but it took 25 years before the divorce happened. Now, it's still 1 out of 2, but it's down to 3.5 years, the average marriage lasts today.
From 25.
From 25, just in 21 years since I started.
Yeah. Well, I love the fact that you even cover that in the book about talking about money, because what you're basically telling my listeners is the person you choose to be married to in your union of life, it's such a big decision, and money, how you're going to manage it, if you're not going to be able to openly discuss these things, you really shouldn't even start the marriage. And it seems for some reason in this country it's a taboo subject if you're bringing up prenuptial agreements, which are talking about money and
Absolutely.
Contract. What's wrong with talking about it in a contract language so that you realize you're both on the same page?
Absolutely. Well taken. I think of a quick joke when you mentioned that marriage. This young couple got married, and they were on the honeymoon, and the very first breakfast at this very elegant resort, they were having breakfast out in the middle of the night, and the beautiful bride looked at her groom across the table, and she said, "Honey, would you have married me if your parents hadn't left you?" He said to her, he said, "Honey, would you have married me if my parents had not left that gigantic what's the word I want?
Trust fund?
A gift, legacy, not an outright gift. It's another word I'm looking for. But anyway, an outright gift, a gigantic, close to $750,000. And the bride looked at him and said, "Honey, I would have married you regardless who left you that major legacy." So anyway, that brings me to the point that you just mentioned, how important it is before you get married and before you even get engaged. I did this with my girlfriend that turned out to be my gorgeous, delightful wife. And we wrote down 10 things after we got through with all of our discussion. And I can remember that just like it was yesterday. Number one, never pay a penny interest in our life. We both agreed to that. We both believed in that. And we never had a credit card. We only had one. The average family household has 13.4 in America today. And we only had one credit card, but we paid it off every month all of our life, and we never bought a car on time. We never bought one single thing that required interest. And I can still say, to this date, Stephen, at my ripe age, I have never paid 1 penny interest in my life except investment interest, and that's totally, totally different. That is leveraging to make more money, and there's nothing wrong with investment interest. It's a totally different category, totally different subject. I'm talking about buying cars, automobiles, dishwasher, this and that and the other, buying things before you have the money to buy it. Another thing we decided and wrote down, we're going to wait 10 years to have children. And in my book, I give all of the reasons for this, and they're just as logical and plain. Can you imagine today, we've married at 21, so 31, we're going to have our first child. And I look back on that 10 years, Stephen, and that was the most awesome 10 years of my whole life, because we were on a perpetual honeymoon for 10 years. And we could go when we were both in school at the university at the time, and we could go and come when we wanted to, and it was 10 beautiful years because when a child comes, everything in life changes forever. You know that. You have 4 children, and you're a parent until you die. And believe me, we followed those things all the way through, those 10 examples, and we're where we are today because we followed those and we never broke them all of our life.
Yeah, we just have to get folks back to the basics, following simple basics, and they'll have, 10 times the prosperity and happiness, because you can't just think that you're both on the same page.
That's right.
You have to actually discuss it and put it on paper.
Right.
So I'm in total agreement with what you're saying, and I'm liking the fact that you put this together. I would encourage anybody that's listening through the website to take advantage of the links that you're seeing. Buying 1, 2, or more books. The reason that I worded it that way, they make great gifts, just like Paul's idea about the baby shower. if you're going to give $50 instead of a traditional gift, buy $50 worth of books and give those as gifts. Educate the people you love, and maybe they will make better choices. And that's what myself and Paul, that's why I do these kind of interviews, to help people. I had to read all these books myself, and now I'm just trying to pass it on and help everybody, because it's the only way. You have to take responsibility for yourself and teach your children. So
Amen.
I encourage you.
Yeah,
go ahead, Paul.
I would just say an amen to what you were saying. Yeah, you were right on all the way. That's awesome.
Let me get back to some juicy stuff for my listeners while they look at the links for the books.
By the way, on that book, one quick thing, Stephen.
Mm-hmm.
I give my book, the only gift I give, regardless what the occasion is my book.
Mm-hmm.
If it's college graduation, high school graduation, if it's anniversary, the 50th wedding anniversary, they still can become a millionaire in retirement. If they haven't made it, they can become a millionaire 10 years before they're retiring, if they haven't made it. So every occasion that I need to give a gift, I give them a gift, and I write a note in there, and I say, now you're going to receive many different gifts of many values for this occasion. But this gift of this book is the most costly of any gift. It's the same as me giving you $1 million today. You read this book and start applying these things, and you're going to become a millionaire and then a multimillionaire. In fact, today, you have to become a multimillionaire. If you're just getting married today, the average girl, 25, the average is 27 for the fellow today. If you get married today at 25 and 27, and by the time you get to retirement, which I believe at 45, and if you live to be 100, that's 55 years you're going to be in retirement. So you can't retire on $1 million. It takes a lot more than that. That's why I covered that whole section in my book on various types of income streams, so that you have a magnificent source of income all your life from many diversified areas, so you can live any way you want, do what you want. You see, being wealthy is very simple. It's doing what you want, when you want, and how you want, and have the money to do it.
Exactly. Yeah, I encourage everyone to give the book for gifts, because, like I say, it's going to get 9 miles more use than your traditional gift. People are so used to getting the traditional gifts, they don't even appreciate them. You kind of get jaded when you've gotten the same traditional candy and cakes and so forth for 15 or 20 years. You'll really open somebody's eyes when you actually give them a book to look at. So, I think that's a great idea in itself. And we could talk about the home, how these folks, most folks, their retirement is around their home. That's really the only piece they're concentrating on. And, with that being the case, you could talk to them and tell them a little bit more about the home. How does that relate to your book, and, using their home properly to put it in their retirement plan?
That's an awesome question, and for those of you that are going to buy the book, write down page 31 to begin with, because I want to talk to you just a moment about the option of renting. If you don't own your own home, naturally you have to rent, unless you're leasing. And I just figured this out before, so I have this accurate information for you right now. Say you're paying $1,000 a month rent, which out here is small. It's a lot more than that in Orange County and other parts of Southern California. But let's just assume $1,000. And you pay rent for 25 years at $1,000 a month. In 25 years, that's $300,000. And what do you have to show for it? My dear listeners, listen to me. You only have 25 years times 12 receipts per month. You have 300 receipts, worthless pieces of paper in your hand for the $300,000 you have paid out in rent. Now, take that $300,000, and this becomes another source of income streams to add to your income streams. That's $45,000 a year in just 25 years, and that goes on until you die again. So you see, all through the book, you get all kinds of ideas for your income streams that can make your life so much easier, all your life. Now, let's go to owning your own home. There are two basic philosophies. You take out a 30-year mortgage and you pay it for 30 years. And then the other option is to pay it off just as quickly as humanly possible. And which one is the right way? Well, it all depends on your temperament. And I'm going to be talking to only 33% of your listeners right now, Stephen. The other 67 can listen, and I hope and pray they will be able to take advantage of what I'm going to say later on in the next year or two or three. But I call it, well, let me put it this way. Let's say you're one of those that want to pay your mortgage off as rapidly as possible. Now, after 10 years it's paid off, or 12 years, or 15 years, let me ask you this question. Assuming your house was worth $300,000, would you leave every morning and go to work and leave $300 $1,000 bills on your kitchen table? Would you do that day in and day out? Leave $300,000 cash on your kitchen table? My friends, I wouldn't ever leave $300,000 on my kitchen table. I would want to have that money invested. The house could burn down while you're at work. Somebody could come and steal that while you're at work, and if they knew it was there, it would automatically be gone before you got home from work the first day. So I believe in having your home create the biggest retirement bonus of all and a gigantic income stream. And let me quickly walk you through this. I'm talking about an interest-only mortgage, which is totally different from the standard 30-year home mortgage where you pay principal and interest. For this reason, I want you to be worth right at $8 million in 30 years by having an interest-only loan. And it happens three simple ways. Number one, with the interest-only loan, you're paying 100% of the payment goes right into income tax. And assuming you have a $300,000 home and you're paying 6% interest, that's $18,000 a year you're paying. And say you're in the 44% federal and state tax bracket, that's $8,000 a year tax savings that you have in your hand every month, part of that $8,000 to equal $8,000 a year. You have it in your hand every month that you've saved, and now you invest that every month. And you keep doing that for 30 years. Number two, the average interest-only loan is $500 per month less. And that brings you in, you don't spend that, you invest it. and that brings you in another $3.5 million over 30 years. And lastly, the U.S. Labor Department states in America, and this is true in many other countries I've been, in America, the average home doubles in value every 26 years, and I've seen this happen 3 times in my life. So you add those 3 figures up, and it amounts to right at $8 million. If your income tax is higher or lower, you adjust it down or up. Now, that gives you $262,000 per year average for those 30 years. And now you have all of this money to invest, and can you imagine what $8 million is going to bring in at 10%? That's $800,000 a year. If it's 15%, it's $1,200,000 of income stream for life just from that 30-year loan. What do you say? So many people tell me in my seminars, "Oh, where do I get the money to pay the house off?" I said, "Sir, look, you only owe $300,000 on the house. You have $8 million. You can pay off the house, and you have your mortgage, and you have $700,000 left. What's the problem?" But you don't stop there. Why would you want to stop getting $262,000 a year? At the end of 30 years, you just sign a sheet of paper like I did when I refinanced my home with the same mortgage company and bank. I signed one sheet of paper, my name once, and the date. That's all I did to re-roll the mortgage over. And so you keep doing this until you die. Why would you not want $262,000 a year? You follow me, Stephen?
Yeah, it's total leverage and arbitrage is the fancy word. You're doing what the bank does.
Exactly.
You borrow at 5 or 6% interest, you make 10 or 15% on the money.
Exactly.
And you get tax write-off from the mortgage itself.
Exactly.
And, you know, it's just a beautiful thing, and you could do it on more than one home, you know, the same plan, and it just boggles people because they get this traditional advice, pay your home off, you know, save your pennies, and they die broke. They have no leverage. They're not doing anything like the financial people do.
Exactly.
So I get very frustrated when I get financial planners telling folks, you know, basically how to do it wrong. But
right.
That's the industry. You know, 60% of the industry is telling everybody to do it wrong.
Exactly.
So
I would plead with your listeners, Stephen, to listen carefully to what I'm going to say. This is for 1/3 of your listeners which have 2 other sources of income that they can draw on for up to 2 solid years to make that interest-only monthly mortgage payment in the event they become disabled or lose their job, etc. Because under no condition do I want anyone listening to me to ever lose a home because of Paul Damazo. So this applies to 1/3 of you, and make sure if you do this, that you have 2 sources of income that you can count on that carry you through for 2 solid years, so you never miss a payment. You're never late a month on a monthly payment. And this, you will end up with $8 million at the end of 30 years, and in the next 30 years, another $8 million, and you do this until you die. Now, the other 67% of you, I'm pleading with you to learn from what I just said so that you can be in that same position to be getting $262,000 a year as long as you live just from one item that doesn't cost you a half a penny out of your pocket. It doesn't change your lifestyle. You don't give up anything. It's automatic, and yet you get $262,000 a year average additional income stream to give you the joy and happiness that you want to do for the rest of your life.
Exactly. I mean, you are still living in the home. You get all the benefits of living in the home, and you use maximum, leverage to your benefit. And there's other safety things these folks could do, like you talk about with, insurance policies, disability policies.
Right.
You stack all of this stuff together to give that security.
Right.
So it's it just you have to learn, and it's all there is to it.
I appreciate so much what you do for your listeners, Stephen, with your program and your counsel and your advice, and I just admire you very, very much, and thank you so much for what you're doing for your listeners.
Paul, I appreciate you coming here. It is the top of the hour, and what I'd love to do, instead of going longer today, is just get you to come back so we could do another hour, maybe once a month, do just like we're doing and talk about the book and other strategies, because out of the 80, I think we covered about 3. And, it's 40, 50 years worth of learning in one book. So,
that's right. And I would be honored to be your guest once a month to cover one chapter a month, or whatever you want to, however you want to do it. It would be my honor to be your guest and to help your listeners any way I can. And before I leave, I would like to say once more, follow Stephen's advice about the book. Give the book, and it's just like giving $1 million gift. And remember, give it to 15-year-old grandchildren and up, and 15-year-old children that you have, and for college graduation, high school graduation, birthdays, anniversaries. Don't give any other gift other than the book, and it'll be the best gift that you will ever make, and they will love you as long as they live for doing them that favor, giving them that gift.
Exactly. There's also, besides the links on the website, to go to Paul's website, order the book through the website. I also have the 800 numbers on the website to physically call. So the replay of this call will then be available, so you guys could, come back to the website and do your thing whenever you have to. And I will then, post when I get Paul on the call again next month, or whatever we schedule this, so everybody could keep going deep with the 80 subjects here. And Paul, I want to thank you. I look forward to our next meeting, and I will talk to you really soon, and the listeners as well.
Thank you so much, and you folk and your listener, you, Stephen, and your listeners, have a great week, and I appreciate the opportunity to be with you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Paul.